Ryan and Courtney here. We are here to discuss our new class, Introduction to Discourse Analysis. We know there's a lot of you who are excited about the languages, and you might be excited to jump into this topic and learn about it more. All right, so Ryan, I'm familiar with some of the conversation that's happening out there in the world around this, but what do we mean by discourse analysis?
Yeah, people mean lots of different things by discourse analysis, and they're all legitimate. Like some people, when they talk about discourse analysis, they're thinking more kind of macro, like how do we follow the argument of an epistle or a gospel? Where are the major sections? Where do we have these sections where there's more turbulence and more happening that draw more of our focus to maybe this pericope instead of another one? And we do that a little bit, but mostly in this discourse analysis class, we're looking at smaller units, kind of the level of the phrase, the sentence, the paragraph, and then the pericope. Like maybe a few paragraphs there. We are using Steve Runge's discourse grammar. This walks us through the major concepts that we're going to be discussing, looking at forward pointing devices, information structure, so like word order, like what do I do with things that come before the verb? Is everything that's before the verb emphasized, emphatic? What do people mean when they say these things? How might people be misunderstanding these things? Thematic highlighting devices. How do Greek authors show something like a part of a phrase or a sentence as important, standing out within that unit? We look at connectors, connecting propositions. What's the difference between de and kai and un, and how do we understand those in relation to one another? And the kind of things that I had questions about when I was learning Greek that I really didn't find answers to till I started reading on this front more recently.
All right, so we're using Runge's grammar. If you're interested in that or know who he is, he is a name within this field, and people are certainly following his work. But one of my main questions now is this a linguistics class? So I need a background in linguistics to understand it.
No, and I'm not a linguist, and I don't pretend to be. I'm a New Testament guy. I'm a Greek guy, and I have read this stuff, and I'm finding it very useful. So I don't expect that of myself or of our students. Like these main key concepts this book introduced, kind of the concept of markedness, understanding prominence and contrast. Some of these cognitive linguistic concepts we're going to talk about as kind of our foundations. But no, this is not a linguistics class, and I'm not a linguist. I'm here to show you the utility of some of these models that the linguists have given us, and show us how to use those as people that aren't linguists, responsibly, without trying to assume too much. So especially if you've never kind of walked down this path before, I think this would be a great kind of introduction to that kind of stuff. I should have said a second ago, beyond the Runge, we're also looking at some of Stephen Levinson's stuff, especially on narrative and the different verbal aspects and grounding in narrative as well. So again, I'm not a linguist. This is not a linguistics course, but there's some information, there's some great research that's been done that can help us understand how to follow the flow of a narrative better, to understand what is mainline, what is offline, or what is foreground, what is background. How do these devices adjust the amount of processing power required to understand it, and thus change the way that we take in certain amounts of information? How do we follow what the main point is? Right? What information is really in the background that maybe an exegete would be tempted to lean into too hard? Mm-hmm. So I think these are the kind of things that I have found as correctives in my own kind of exegetical life that I think our students are finding really useful as well.
Yeah, and I know that this is such a heavy field right now, lots of people writing and saying things within it, so it can be overwhelming to just kind of navigate that by yourself. So I've really enjoyed this course to just get kind of a nice overview of the different people who might be speaking into this, but also to get the grounding to know what those main concepts really are and be able to put them to use in my daily reading of Greek and or sometimes Hebrew. So it's been very exciting personally. So if you are excited about this class, feel free to reach out to me or Ryan to ask about more details, and we would love to get you signed up for Introduction to Greek Discourse Analysis today.